We're in conversation with the CEO of Radio City, Apurva Purohit. Thank you so much for talking to us. Let's just begin with the history of radio in our country. Back then in the 80s when television came and we just had this one government-owned radio channel, radio had to really, pull up its socks and reinvent itself in front of a very visual medium that was television. So we had mobile radio, for instance, you're on the go, you can listen to it while you're driving. Then came 2001 when the markets opened for private radio stations, you're being one of the first. Radio again then was very accessible for people. New Bollywood songs were easily, one could hear them while you're driving. Now in 2014 when there's, the digital media space has completely taken over really. Television is also reeling under the, effects of digital media. So I'm sure the radio industry as well is, one can access music at the drop of a hat, like just one click away, and you can listen to your music at your time uninterrupted. So how is the radio industry dealing with the pressures of digital media?
So I think the more things change, the more they remain the same. So at every situation, there is a positive and a negative of the circumstance. I think radio has the advantage of being part of the traditional media set. So when we talk to our listeners or when we talk to advertisers, they see it as an old medium, as a heritage medium, as a medium which curates songs and plays it out to them. Many of our RJs are very iconic RJs who have developed their own bond after having been in the system for more than 10 years. So they have this very one-on-one connection with the listener. And radio per se is seen as a very personal friend and companion vis-a-vis television, which is a little more aspirational, or print, which is a little more intellectual. So I think that bond will always remain there. Coming to the interaction with digital, I think the advantage for radio also is that it fits in very well and is very complementary to the digital medium. After all, what does a listener want? He wants good content. Digital or a terrestrial receiver is just a medium or just a distribution mechanism.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Life in an urban city becomes so difficult. I look at myself. Till last year, I had this, 2 hours in a day that was me and my radio when I drove down to work, and that was my precious time. And now in a city like Mumbai, you're always on the go. One doesn't have that kind of time. You're driven around in cabs and, you're always on your email. For me, unfortunately, radio has completely wiped out of my life, unfortunately, as much as I love radio. Do you feel youngsters in general in urban cities don't have the time or the patience to listen to talk? They'd rather have their own playlists and, listen to their kind of music. Do you feel that there's a slight change? Is radio becoming a little more popular in smaller towns with people who have that kind of time?
So that's a very good question. I mean, the time is a constraint in urban India, and how are people dealing with it vis-a-vis their consumption of entertainment is a very challenging time for the media industry. I think the two things that will work for us in the future, one is the fact that radio itself, because as I said, it's a background thing. So it's that you can do 3 other things while listening to radio. Maybe with the television or print you can't, you have to be focused on. Because it's playing at the background, it can work in combination. The other thing is also that the more we are able to provide interactive content or content at their time, the more we will do well. So if you see, part of our content is created. So whether we talk about Babbar Sher or an Amin Sayani show or any Meri Kahani that we are launching shortly, which is stories about our celebrities which many people don't know. That content, then whether he listens to it on the net or whether he listens to it through an app, that should be irrelevant to me. So we must concentrate on that, and similarly we must ensure that if we are curating, for example, we curate music, we should do it in a particular style that it appeals, so that then we are competing with his personal playlist. So a personal playlist versus what I call the randomness of radio. True. I think that the huge attraction in the randomness also. So I always don't want to listen to the songs that I have
planned. Yeah, it's nice sometimes to just listen to something.
Oh wow. And sometimes also to listen to somebody else, some other expert's view on music. I think these are the two things we'll have to work at.
There's this one constant complaint that we hear from radio, and I personally have that grouse against it. There's too much of talk, you know, there's just too much. And like, I want to listen to my music, yeah, don't make me listen to so much. Do you get that feedback a lot? Is there some sort of a ratio that you're maintaining between talk and the actual music?
That is a feedback that we too get. Actually, the reality is that people are not able to distinguish between RJ talk, the promos, the ads and the music. So it's music and non-music, and all of the non-music gets clubbed under talk.
Yeah.
Actually, we have very hard restrictions on how much our RJs can talk. For example, 1.5 minutes are the maximum links, and it's also not about how much time, but are the links relevant. So I think our challenge is not to reduce the talk, but to make it more relevant.
So tell us about Radio City. What initiatives are you taking to sort of engage with your audience? You know, there has to be a constant connection with them. That's how you know the people who are listening in. So what is the campaign that you sort of are following?
So I always tell my friends, you know, some of the big CEOs in FMCG industries that, you know, your job is far easier, because finally you have to sell that product once a month. For us in media, we have to sell our product 24/7. Even if one 5-second link or a 10-second thing is not good enough, he'll switch off. So that there's a huge amount of pressure to keep it engaging, as you say, every minute of the day and 24/7. In fact, recently we've just launched our new campaign, which is City First, App First, which came out from that consumer insight that they all want value addition and they all want to be slightly better than their peers. And how do they become better than their peers? If they have some valuable information or tip or thing that can help them get ahead in life. So we are saying that city first, app first. So you are the center of our content strategy. We will ensure that you are first in whichever way, even in getting the latest gossip, for example. So with that intent, we've done a lot of online digital activities, a lot of on ground, and some very interesting on ground activities we've done. For example, we've gone and got our promoters to stand in a queue in a railway station. So
nice.
in the morning somebody comes in and then we say this slot, so he's thinking, oh shit, I have to stand one line in the queue to buy my ticket. He said, no, this slot is for you.
Oh, so you don't have to stand in queue.
This is for you. Or we've got cars waiting, or limousines waiting outside certain stations.
In Bombay?
In Bombay. So no, all our cities we've done this. Okay. In 8 of our cities. So that if you want, so answer a simple question and you'll get a free ride today to work or to
Where are you positioning these cars? I should be
Shall I
standing in
say
line. Yes, definitely.
रेडियो सिटी का फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या है?
91.1 FM।
रेडियो सिटी का टैगलाइन क्या है?
FM बोले तो रेडियो सिटी। FM बोले तो रेडियो सिटी।
ऐसे दो आरजेस का नाम बताइए जिसका शो मॉर्निंग में होता है।
सलील एंड अर्चना।
अर्चना एंड सलील परफेक्टली राइट। आपको मिल जाएगी रेडियो सिटी से एक लग्जरी फ्री राइड।
many such initiatives to communicate that you are important to us, and including our RJs. So RJs do at least once a week, it is mandated that all our RJs will be on ground as part of some event or covering some event or just interacting. So come a bunch of us, let's go and see, listeners, let's go and see a movie together. So because as I said, RJs are aspirational and inspiring figures, and people do want to touch and feel them.
Especially because radio is not a visual medium,
Exactly.
so I guess you have to go that extra mile for people to,
Absolutely,
to relate.
absolutely.
So tell us about the future of radio. Now we are getting into phase 3. That means that we'll have radio channels, radio frequencies in many more cities across the country. So how does that impact the industry?
300 cities versus 90 cities, 800 frequencies versus 200 frequencies. So suddenly there is going to be a big leap ahead for the industry, and I believe that it's going to change the industry in the sense that finally it is going to be seen as a national medium. Today, when the internet is global, to be available and present only in 90 cities is actually being a niche medium. I mean, even 300 cities is not good enough, but at least it's 300 more than
what
the
we were earlier.
current numbers. So I think in that way it's going to change. It's going to change the complexion of a small city, because finally when FM radio becomes available to a small Hisar, for example, okay, or Amethi, where even today there is no private FM. The ability of the youth to sort of rally behind one medium, to be able to have a voice where they can call up and speak, for small businessmen to be able to advertise on that medium. I think it's just going to, and we are underplaying the opportunities that it will give to small town India.
So basically, radio is here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
Not
In fact,
at
this
all.
is going to go bigger and better. Right? So thank you so much for talking to us.